My name is Michael Waniger, and I'm with the Hibiscus Children's Center, and I'm currently the Advisory Board President for St. Lucie County. Hibiscus, in this segment, we want to cover a number of issues such as our board participation, our community awareness programs, our clinical programs, and to help me this morning is two of our board members, Charles Grande and John Perry. Briefly, Hibiscus started in 1985 by Levon Tilton, her family, and a number of volunteers. And again, the impact was established as a residential facility to help shelter children and provide safety for abused, neglected, and abandoned children. Our board is comprised of a number of people here in St. Lucie County from various backgrounds. And today, again, I'm privileged to have a couple of our board members here, Charles and John. And if you would, gentlemen, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became originally involved with Hibiscus, and we can go from there. Charles?
Actually, my involvement goes back quite a ways because, strictly coincidentally, my church actually donated the land for the Hibiscus Children's Center in Jensen Beach. So I did have a sense of what Hibiscus was and the population of children that Hibiscus was serving. When I was elected to the St. Lucie County Commission, I looked at a number of the nonprofits in the area that I thought I could help and participate with, and Hibiscus was one that seemed to me to be meeting the needs of the children in St. Lucie County in particular, and a group that was not well publicized, and I thought I could actually make a difference. So that was my entree to Hibiscus.
You certainly have. John, how did you get involved?
Well, for about 2 decades now, I've been involved in the area in environmental organizations and animal rights organizations, mainly companion animal rights organizations. So, that was my introduction into heavy-duty charity work, if you will. This is how I met former Commissioner Grande in the environmental arena, and we worked together quite a lot there and got to know each other quite well. And actually, Charles brought me into Hibiscus through my work in other charities. I for instance, we used to promote the idea that well, we still do, of course, animal abuse is the canary in the coal mine for child abuse. And having been involved in the community in that arena, it made me more aware of the problems that families and especially financially challenged families face. At any rate, so when Charles brought me to a luncheon one morning at Hibiscus, it was just a natural. It was sort of a natural progression for me to be involved.
Great. Thanks, John. Just for our audience, I'd like to explain a little bit about Hibiscus. We do have a representation throughout the entire 4-county area. It is a regional Treasure Coast initiative where we have a shelter for younger children who are, again, these victims of abused and neglected, abandoned for whatever reason, in Jensen Beach. And up in Vero Beach, we have the village, which is comprised of a number of homes for teenagers. So we cross the gamut. Our board is basically a complete volunteer board, working with the staff at the Hibiscus, an extremely talented, professional group of devoted people who spend their time trying to stamp out this type of child abuse. Unfortunately, that is endemic across the country, and again, St. Lucie County is not, we still have it the same as everybody else. First and foremost, I think our board participation, just for the people at home, is, again, St. Lucie County is kind of one of the newer ones, if you will, as part of the Hibiscus Children's Center. We have representation who has, again, politicians, entrepreneurs. Actually, the mayor sits on, we have people from the school board, from all walks of life, from every age, gender, effectively every cross part of life that is really a snapshot of what St. Lucie County is all about. Again, the board primarily is fundraising opportunities. And Charles, can you talk a little bit how we generate some of the funds through the fundraising activities throughout the year?
For the most part in St. Lucie County, fundraising has been event-related. We do a golf tournament, which is become traditional now, the second Saturday in each December. We have a golf tournament and we raise funds. We also have placed coin boxes and bill boxes at various locations around the county, hoping that people, when paying checks, will deposit their excess funds in the box for the kids. Fundraising for in St. Lucie County is incredibly important because the bulk of the children that are involved in the programs with Hibiscus actually come from St. Lucie County. And while Jensen Beach and Indian River County have brick and mortar facilities that house the children, in St. Lucie County our approach really has been prevention. And we've developed programs here that are not limited by the facilities, whereas we handle somewhat fewer than 100 children between the shelter and the group homes. In our programs in St. Lucie County, looking at prevention, we're up over 300 children currently being serviced. So fundraising here is incredibly important because of the mission that we have, and we're hoping that people in St. Lucie County will become more and more familiar with what we're doing and the challenges that we're meeting.
I find this to be true as we go out throughout the county. People are somewhat aware of Hibiscus, but they're not really totally aware of what we really do. And again, as I said earlier in this segment, it was really founded in 1985. So we're in our 28th year, if my math is correct. And John, I know you were one that helped initiate the coin boxes, if you will. That was kind of your program. If you can expand a little bit on how you got the idea, and if nothing else for more than obviously generating fundraising, it's also a point of contact for community awareness.
Exactly. One of the things I wanted to add to what Charles just said, these boxes can also be a receptacle for a business card or any kind of message where we might be able to follow up and make a speech to a homeowners association or any group that's interested in what we do and how we might work together to help the kids in the community. I got the point of purchase collection box, if you will. That idea came from a charity that I've been involved with for years, United for Animals. We've done that around the community, and quite effective. It's not just the money that you get, which certainly is imperative, but it's also the contacts that you make. People leave checks with a note, call me, and they get involved, and so it's a great outreach thing. I just want to mention also we have a bowling tournament, which we've tried to bowl, but not very successful. But and I just want to make another plug for the golf tournament. It's one of the best values of any golf tournament in the region. You have a lot of fun, and it comes at a time, a couple weeks before Christmas, where everybody's in a good mood. And
Well, that's great, because fundraising can be fun, as we know.
Yeah.
One other thing that you alluded to that I think is very important for our audiences is that we also created in the last year or so a speakers bureau. And a speakers bureau, there's a number of people who have moved to this area. Not everybody is a native from St. Lucie County. And how can we help out? How can we, during these times, like you said, of the holidays, and how do we help these children who really through no fault of their own have become victims of society? And again, what we've been able to do here recently is talk to like Rotary clubs, talk to homeowners associations, talk to a number of different organizations where we really pair up not only our volunteers, who are all board members, every board member is a volunteer, also with their staff. again, these are clinical professionals who work day by day, who can talk about the testimonials and really understand how important Hibiscus Children's Center is for this community and for the state. And again, these are things, so if you have an opportunity, or if you're so inclined out there, and I hope that you are, please contact us on our website, and that'll be up here shortly. But again, Charles, tell us a little bit more. I know here in St. Lucie County specifically, we have the clinical operations here in Fort Pierce. Tell us a little bit about what function they provide for the community, because I know it's extremely important.
Clinical is a tough term because it really doesn't explain all of the services that we provide. Here in St. Lucie County, we're actually doing our best to deal with the problems that these children, abused, abandoned, neglected, face, and head off the need to actually go into shelters or group homes. We probably have, well, probably is not accurate, we actually have the finest and the highest rated sexual abuse prevention and treatment program in the state of Florida. And our program is a model for the rest of the state. It's a topic that's, I guess we all kind of shy away from, but it's incredibly important because it's at the root of so many of the children's problems, and it's something that everybody tends to sweep under the rug. But treatment for those horrible cases is incredibly important to secure the future of these children and bring them back into society with confidence and dignity. And we're doing that here in St. Lucie County. The other programs are mental health programs, really aimed at taking children who have been damaged, again, through no fault of their own, but through the environment that they've been placed in, and rebuilding their psyche and their mentality so that they can become productive citizens. It takes time, it takes patience, and most of all, it takes funding. But the savings by treating these children early and keeping them out of the children's systems and later on the criminal justice system is so much more than the cost. Early intervention, prevention, and treatment are what we're aimed at in St. Lucie County, and it pays off every day.
I'm often asked, where do these children find hibiscus? And again, when we talk around the community, and a lot of it comes from, in fact, most of it comes from referrals, from DCF, Department of Children and Families, from United for Families, from schools, from government. And again, these are children who, again, as you said so eloquently, these are through no fault of their own. They have been captured, if you will, by probably the dark side of society. And could you kind of elaborate a little bit, John, on some of the numbers or some of the stories? I know we've had the opportunity the last few days to sit down one-on-one with some of the experts. And again, as Charles said, there's 15 sexual abuse treatment programs in the state of Florida. The one located right here in St. Lucie happens to be '1. So I guess if there's any solace we can have, we've got the best of the worst, if you will.
Well, you just took my best yeah, in the state of Florida, there's 15 organizations that deal with sexual abuse children, and we're one of the 15. And based on state surveys, not something that we put together, and where it's not our claim, but the state has ranked Hibiscus #1 in the state for well, actually, in a lot of different areas, but we are apparently the most effective organization doing this in the state of Florida. I just want to throw something else out, in that the more time I spend with Hibiscus, the more absolutely amazed I am at the work our people do. Our staff is just stretched to the limit, and the amount of work they accomplish is astonishing. For instance, according to our records, it takes 75 man hours and a 350-page application just to license one foster family. Okay? Now, every year, those applications have to be revisited, and our records show that that takes 50 more hours and another 200-page application. So, you know, with we right now, I'm not sure, it's somewhere between 77 and 98 children that we have out in the foster program. When you do the math, it's astonishing with the number of people we have doing it. And the same kind of challenges exist in the other clinical areas of our organization. Our staff does an unbelievable job, and everybody I've come in contact with is just really special.
I think if I can jump in here, when we were introducing our programs, we did leave out the fact that Hibiscus is the agency that qualifies parents or families to become foster parents. And John talked about the extent of the investigation to qualify a family. And it seems like a lot. It seems like a lot of paper, and it seems like a lot of time. But it's so incredibly important that these damaged children be placed in an environment that's safe and caring and loving and can move them from the horrible conditions they've come from into a place where they can grow and become productive members of society. That's watching that process occur. You've repeatedly talked about everybody, all of us being volunteers. That's such an incredible payment to see kids coming out the other end of the system and who are no longer lost and no longer stumbling, but feel part of a nurturing society.
And I'd just like to add, it was great to hear that about a third of the foster families that we license end up adopting the children that they're foster parents for. You know, the idea of fostering, you know, sometimes, you know, it gets a bad rap. People think that fostering is some way to make money, you know. It's nonsense. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but through our organization, our people are so careful and so good at making sure that the people that are doing the fostering are the right people. You know, I'm very comfortable.
Let me just move on to the next level, if you will. Again, unfortunately, part and parcel to the sexual abuse programs that we talked about, that are run rampant throughout the country, human trafficking. Many people may not know that, but human trafficking is the #2 illegal business in the world, and it's second only to drug trafficking. And again, unfortunately, the state of Florida is third, with the most. These victims are women and their children, and they're used for cheap labor and sexual services. This comes out of UNICEF. And again, Charles, you said it probably, I've heard you say this a number of times, obviously prevention is much better than the cure. If you can kind of elaborate a little bit on again, one of the other multiple programs that come out of our St. Lucie County Clinical Services offices and professionals deal with just that exact topic. So if you could kind of share with our audience a little bit of how this works.
Well, I think you really have to think about where these folks are coming from, where these children are coming from. These are children that are exposed to kidnapping or seduction via leading them on with things that they never believed that they could possibly have. And it's an entrapment system that brings them in and makes them not employees, but people to be taken advantage of. And they lose their sense of humanity and their dignity. And our programs really are rebuilding them for reentry to society. The terrible truth is, left to themselves, these children would either stay in bondage, and it really is bondage, or if they got out, the only thing they really would be prepared for on their own would be further involvement in the criminal justice system. So it's a major project to take these children who have been so horribly abused, re-educate, reorient, provide them a loving relationship with people so that they can actually leave that terrible system, if you will.
And again, I just have to congratulate you, as I am very proud of our entire board, of just the last few years, the progress we've made here in St. Lucie County. Again, we talk about fundraising, the fun in fundraising, but it really creates a community awareness that all of us have an obligation and, I believe, a moral responsibility to take care of our children today. And again, prevention and these programs are so important, but we can only do so much. On a volunteer basis, we do, in fact, generate some grants from the state, but it's never enough. It's never enough. And therefore, I guess we make a plea, if you will, to the audience out there to find out more. Get on our website at Hibiscus. If you're interested in joining Hibiscus on the board or becoming a volunteer at whatever level, again, please kind of contact us because I think it's so important. We've talked on a couple programs. There's another program I've been just privy to learn a little bit more about, the Infant Mental Health Program. And this is the ability of children from birth to age 5 to grow. And again, in today's society, we're seeing so many things that happen later on in life, but actually the formulative ages from birth to age 5 are so important. Would any one of you like to kind of expand on that, John?
Just as you're talking, it just brought another important point to mind. We don't, our clients, we term them as clients, people that we're helping.
Sure.
They don't come to us. Our therapists go to the homes where these problems are occurring, or where these children, these infants, as you call them, are need the help that we have to offer. So it's very, very labor intensive for us. It's not like we have a group of therapists sitting in an office somewhere. We're going into we're missionaries in our own country, in our own neighborhood.
You can think about children entering the school system, whether it's kindergarten or first grade. These days, children who enter without a normal parenting situation usually are not ready. And when you fall behind at the beginning, it's really, really tough to catch up. And our programs not only reach out to these disadvantaged children, they reach out to the families, whatever they are, that these children are involved with, so that a single mother who's young and has 2 children can learn how to prepare her children to enter the school system and have a fighting chance.
And again, the services that we basically deal with from day to day have to do with emotional and then behavioral issues related to abuse. It can be trauma, neglect, and mental health disorders. So it covers the entire gamut, if you will, of what is happening today across the country and, in fact, across the world. So I think one of the things that citizens of St. Lucie County can be proud of is organizations such as Hibiscus Children's Centers, who is taking a proactive measure to stop some of this abuse and to recognize it, and then not only do that, but offer a solution, which is so critical today. And there's many times we talk about everything, but it kind of stops right there. And my background, as you know, is in business, and I've always said from every time we have a meeting, let's find out what are the next steps. Where do we go from here, and how do we get there? And again, what is success going to look like for Hibiscus, for St. Lucie County, for the community, the state of Florida, and our country at large? So again, these are very, very important aspects of what we do. And again, those of us who have an opportunity to kind of give back, whether it be your time or treasure, it's just I think our responsibilities to be good citizens. We've got just a few minutes left in this segment. Again, we've talked on a number of different issues. Charles, if you would, please, can you kind of encapsulate what Hibiscus has really meant, and how it seems like every time we talk about Hibiscus, or again, I talk to a number of the staff people, I learn so much more each time. And I know you've had the opportunity to be with Hibiscus longer than I, so I would appreciate hearing from how you feel about Hibiscus now.
I like the way you put that. What I found that's unique, and having been an elected official in St. Lucie County, I've served on a lot of boards, I've participated with a lot of nonprofits, and what I find is the people that get associated with Hibiscus stay. Mm-hmm. And the reason they stay is you get to see the results. You get to see children that wouldn't make it without the kind of helping hand that Hibiscus provides, mm-hmm. Whether it's a sexual abuse program or time in a shelter or with other teenagers in a group home. You can watch these young people who would be lost to society coming back, mm-hmm. and getting jobs and becoming productive and becoming contributors. And I have 5 grandchildren, and I love to watch children succeed. And I think that's what keeps the board members and the contributors with Hibiscus. We make it happen.
Absolutely. John?
In that same vein, quite true that it seems like everybody has been there a long time and stays. I wasn't there when it all started, but I think that's greatly attributable to our staff that's been there a long time. They're just wonderful people. Some of the hardest working people I've ever seen. I've had the privilege of working with Tracy Natiela Savoya.
Correct.
And just I don't know what that gal gets paid, but it's not nearly enough. She's a fantastic. She works with me on the golf tournament and the bowling tournament, and she's got a hand in just about every fundraising event that we get involved in. And again, she's just one of many. I'd like to name them all, but
we go that route, and all of a sudden then we have an issue where we leave somebody out. And
Lisa Wynn, just on and on.
It goes on and on again. Yeah. And I guess, in summary, what I'd like to sit there again and share to our audiences that are here, we have an organization that is dedicated with true professionals, with true volunteers that really make a difference in today's life, and it's going forward. So, unfortunately, in the society we live across the country, there are things that do happen that we're not very proud of, but we can be proud, and we should be proud of the Hibiscus organization, its professionals, its volunteers, who do a lot of things every day, unnoticed, but for the society that we live in, that make a difference in today's world. So again, to Hibiscus and to all its volunteers and staff, we thank you.